Koreans believe that from the beginning there was Taeguk, yin and yang, two opposing elements creating a dynamic, unified force. Darkness and light, earth and sky. Contrasts etched in the lay of the land and in the hearts of the Korean people. From these origins comes an unusual martial art, Taekwondo, a tradition steeped in ancient Korean values that today is being challenged by the pressures of modern society. This is a story of evolution and how Korea's foremost martial art is to survive. The warrior spirit pitted against the country's hope for Olympic gold. From the very beginning, man has always been his own worst enemy. History is filled with the legends of battles and wars men have fought to conquer and to defend. But in times of peace, the animal instinct for violence was tamed, and man used the lull to refine and hone the warrior spirit, in the process transforming aggression into a game, even into art. In Korea, the periods of peace were few and far between. Throughout the centuries, the Korean peninsula had been alternately attacked by its neighbors or torn asunder by civil war. One particularly golden age is glorified by the Koreans today, a time which is known as the Three Kingdoms period. The lands of Baekje, Shilla, and Kogyul fought for supremacy over the peninsula until all eventually became united under the Kingdom of Shilla. Military commanders ranked high in the aristocracy, their sons members of elite societies of young noble class warriors. The most famous of these was the Shilla Hwarang, or the Flowering Youth. They studied art, literature, and what appears to be Korea's first formal martial arts. The Hwarang followed a special code of conduct handed down to them by the Buddhist scholar Wong Kang. Be loyal to your country. Be obedient to your parents. Be trustworthy to your friends. Never retreat in battle. Never make an unjust kill. Over time, martial arts became more refined and sophisticated. However, they were mainly used for training the elite, and it was left to the peasantry to develop a competitive village folk game, which would eventually lead to the development of a national sport. On a warm evening in the countryside of Okchong County, a new generation of Koreans is helping to preserve an ancient legacy. The game of Taekwondo is enjoying something of a revival today. Just as they did hundreds of years ago, the competitors split into two separate teams, those from the east and those from the west. This is the essence of competition and sport, the rivalry and the tension. Each player tries to knock the other to the ground. The one who succeeds wins the game. By the late 1800s, the Taekwondo match had grown from lively to rowdy. It was the place where a man could settle a score with an enemy, drink with abandon, and bet his money or even his concubine on the match's outcome. Korea's strict Confucian judiciary was not amused and banned the game. Taekwondo nearly died out, but re-emerged in the second part of this century, led by Master Song Dok-yi. He kept the art alive and trained several protégés who have helped renew interest in the ancient game. Lee Yong-bok, one of Master Song's protégés, now heads the Korea Taekwondo Association and is partly responsible for the resurgence in the popularity of the game. Today, there are some 100,000 Koreans who practice Taekwondo. The slow, smooth moves, particularly of the legs, reminiscent of a traditional Korean mask dance, belie the potential for a swift, powerful attack.
It's as though you're dancing. This is not to make the form more interesting or more fun, but to take the most advantageous position in Taekwondo sparring. Putting your foot forward is a challenge. It's almost like a ping pong or volleyball serve. The ball's in your court, so it's like we're giving or treating the other party.
But Lee says, at its heyday, Taekwondo was much more than just a simple game. This was a serious competition, a test of a man's speed, power, and accuracy, with potentially devastating consequences. The day after the big contest is the time for Taekwondo's youngest players to have a go. But even child's play can get rough. At the end of the 19th century, the physical pastimes of the country had divided cleanly on class lines. The elite had their martial art, the peasantry their gaming sport. But soon both would join together in a struggle against an enemy that changed the hermit kingdom forever. In 1910, the Japanese annexed Korea, abolishing its monarchy and establishing their own puppet government. Korean resistance provoked brutal repression. Thousands were killed, many more injured. Japanese was made the official language for all public science and school lessons, and teachers were forbidden from teaching Korean history. People were forced to change their last names and bow at Japanese shrines, the final step to becoming citizens of a Japanese colony. The suffering of that period is memorialized today in this tribute to the resistance movement at Korea's Independence Museum. The halls here echo with the passion and pathos of a people which fiercely protect and honor their country. Liberation came on August 15, 1945, when Japan accepted the Allied terms for its surrender in World War II. Korea threw itself into the task of rebuilding its cities, reuniting families, and most importantly, ridding itself of all Japanese influence. Among those returning home were martial artists who had learned karate while studying in Japan or being conscripted in the Japanese army. They were determined to put their new skills to use in a purely Korean way. Clubs, known as dojangs in Korean, began to appear, each teaching their own brand of martial art under different names. As a leader in the new Korean army, General Chae Hong-hee also began teaching karate to his troops. He had received a black belt while studying in Japan, but was later charged during World War II with inciting a nationalist uprising. Imprisoned by the Japanese, he was scheduled to be executed.
Out of the darkness comes brightness. Usually happiness comes from dark times. 5 people, including me, were in jail. We were sentenced to die on August the 18th, 1945. But Japan was defeated, which was on August the 15th. Subsequently, I was released from prison only 2 days before execution. While I was in jail, I pledged that I would show the excellence of the Korean people to the world.
His job wasn't easy. For 10 years, General Chae and the heads of various original schools, or kwans, tried to unify and develop a truly Korean martial art to counter the Japanese cultural influence. Finally, General Chae created a new school, which he called Taekwondo, which he began introducing to the military.
Most martial arts use arms and hands. Karate means empty hand. But I developed Taekwondo as a martial art using arms, hands, legs, and feet. Tae means legs, Kwon means hands or fists, and Do means martial arts.
In 1961, General Chae became head of the Korean Taekwondo Association. This was a milestone in Korean history. It was the birth of a quintessentially Korean martial art. But the moment was fraught with controversy over its Japanese origins. Lee Jong-woo is the vice chairman of the World Taekwondo Federation, which among other things conducts masters training at its headquarters in Seoul. As a founder of modern Taekwondo, he has followed its evolution carefully.
Chae named it Taekwondo, but everything he based it on was Japanese karate, and then some argued that the name should be Taekyen instead of Taekwondo. But Mr. Chae, who was a very influential figure in the military, forced Korean sportspeople to adopt the name Taekwondo. Ironically, it was the one who practiced Japanese karate who named the Korean martial art.
Taekwondo's origins can be mostly found from Japanese karate, and that Koreans studied karate and started teaching it after liberation in 1945, took what they had and developed it in an entirely new, original, creative direction into the sport Taekwondo that we have today. Actually creating a new, original Korean martial art, something that never existed before.
The result of this intense debate was the birth of an exciting, dynamic physical expression. Moving as to the beats of a silent drummer, the athletes from Keimyung University perform moves as if fighting against an imaginary opponent. Keen to develop the martial art into stylistic forms, the founders of Taekwondo created the Taekwondo Pumse. Developed from training patterns for sword fighters who wanted to practice without killing one another, Pumse is a way for athletes to simulate actual sparring matches, preparing their reflexes for every contingency. Relying on strong patriotic imagery, many of the original pumse mirrored the gestures and positions of Korean god warriors found on ancient tombs and monuments. Master Lee Sun-jang, a former world Taekwondo champion, is the Keimyung University coach and a master of pumse. He said he loves Taekwondo so much, he married another Taekwondo coach. Soon, he hopes his son will follow in his footsteps.
There are many forms of pumse. This Koryo pumse starts with Tongmilgi. So from the initial stance in Tongmilgi, defense goes like this.
Repeated over and over again, the pumse trains the body's reflexes to react unconsciously to a sparring situation.
There are many techniques in kicking and punching. When players face off, they are sizing each other up. But the most important of all the techniques is the basic pumse.
Pumse was also a way to inculcate discipline and self-control, more spiritual aspects of the martial art. As athletes scream their ki-hap, they believe they are releasing the ki, or energy, that lies in their figurative belly, enhancing their strength and courage. These concepts were carryovers from the Japanese martial art of karate shown here, which was originally developed as a form of meditation in Zen Buddhism. The use of the hands and the tremendous control and discipline of muscles in every action are also similar, but that is basically where experts say the resemblance ends. Taekwondo made two deliberate and critical departures from karate, aspects of the martial art which many believe clearly define Taekwondo as a separate and unique Korean martial art. Full contact sparring and the increased use of feet. Professor Steve Kapner is a former champion of the US Taekwondo team and a professor at Korea's Ewha Women's University. He's lived in Seoul for more than 10 years, where he received a PhD in sports philosophy and has studied the evolution of Taekwondo.
What was the motivation of the Korean Taekwondo leaders to put a body armor on somebody and decide that, well, now we're going to kick as hard as we can. We're going to turn this, what was before a non-contact sport, into a full contact sport. And even more interesting, what was the impetus to decide to prohibit hand attacks to the face, which is the basis of Japanese karate? Probably 50 or 60% of the techniques, or maybe more, are fist attacks to the face. But in Korea they said, we're not going to use the fist to attack the face. A radical, huge departure. What that means is the game became 80-90% kicking.
Many believe that these innovations came about through the influence of Taekyon, or even the Korean wrestling game of Shirum. Either way, this new direction added excitement to Taekwondo and an entirely new element of competition and gaming. In the process, Taekwondo developed a second identity. Alongside Taekwondo the martial art, emerged Taekwondo the game and sport. But first, Taekwondo would be used for an entirely new utilitarian reason, as self-defense. In a cache for troops deal, Korean soldiers were sent to fight with US troops in Vietnam in the 1960s. The war brought the opportunity for Korea to show off its new martial art to foreigners. Taekwondo was making its debut in the jungles of Vietnam. Korea's National Military Museum is where the heroes of that war and others are honored. Heroes like Hwang Myung-ho, who was a member of the elite Black Tigers, a special forces unit highly trained in martial arts. A stroll through the Vietnam War Hall brings Hwang back in time, to days like the one captured in this Pulitzer Prize-winning photo.
This picture was taken during the Hongildong operation on July 24th, 1967. After we raided a village, I went in to search for any remaining enemies. I found 2 children crying in a burning house. Their parents were lying dead beside them, so I rescued them.
Huang says every black tiger had a black belt in at least one martial art. Many knew more. Their missions included collecting intelligence, rescuing Allied prisoners, and assassinating enemy leaders. Stealth operations in which gunfire would have given them away. A black belt in Taekwondo, Huang estimates he killed more than 20 people with his bare hands. He says style and form vanishes the urgency of the moment, but his disciplined reflexes served him well.
We used all the skills we had learned. I don't mean using specific Taekwondo kicking techniques. In hand-to-hand combat, there's no time for that. You just use your hands and feet the best you can. When 2 people fight, the faster one wins. So you use every move in the book. You may use your knee or your head. The faster one wins. If you attack first, you can kill the enemy 100% without any sound.
It was the bullets which eventually got Huang, though, crippling him for 10 years and hospitalizing him for 20. But he still believes unarmed combat skills can save one's life. To this day, the connection between martial art and national defense remains strong. While every adult male must learn Taekwondo during his required military service, units like the elite White Skull Brigade make it their speciality, along with Aikido and boxing. Subjected to stamina training in extreme weather conditions, they are some of the country's toughest soldiers. All this is necessary because their mission is considered sacred. They guard against the constant threat of infiltration from the communist north. Patrolling the border, the White Skull Brigade has often been the last line of defense, capturing more than 5,000 commandos trying to cross that line. Some 1,400 of them are said to have met death at the hands or gunpoint of the White Skull Brigade. Vietnam was also where Taekwondo began to work miracles for South Korea. No one was prouder when the US Vice President Richard Nixon seemed delighted with a demonstration of Taekwondo. Taekwondo became a formidable diplomatic tool. Kukkiwon was established, home to the new WTF, or World Taekwondo Federation. Its mission, to spread the word of Taekwondo around the world. At a time when few people could leave Korea and travel, thousands of Taekwondo instructors were deployed all over the world. Taekwondo caught on fast. It was fun, challenging, and to many non-Koreans, it represented the mystical and the exotic of the Far East. It became the cultural ambassador, forging ties that no formal lines of diplomacy ever could.
Think about it, how could you bring a room full of white, black, non-Korean Westerners, how could you get them to get down on their knees and bow or otherwise salute the Korean flag? No Korean diplomats ever been able to pull this off. So Taekwondo has been promoted abroad, not only as Taekwondo, but as some sort of Korean cultural icon, representative of Korea itself. And people are taught not only Taekwondo, but they're taught some sort of affective mood, how they should think or feel about Korea as a country.
Taekwondo from Junri, the master.
Junri, founder of a chain of 60 dojangs in the United States, even made his way into Washington political circles. At one point, he established a free Taekwondo class for congressmen, raising the profile of his homeland with some of the most powerful decision-makers in the world. Back home in Korea, Taekwondo had reached a critical juncture. A split emerged between those who felt Taekwondo should remain a martial art and those who saw its future as a sport. General Che, who played such a vital role in the birth of the martial art, had formed his own organization, the ITF, or International Taekwondo Federation. By the 70s, the general had fallen from favor with Korea's political leadership. Under still mysterious circumstances, he fled the country in 1972. He lost what little goodwill he might still have had with the people back home by bringing his brand of Taekwondo to North Korea. Repeated visits to the communist country had branded him a traitor in the South. To this day, he remains in exile. ITF today lives on. ITF chair says, stresses the art, not the sport of Taekwondo. It's distinctive from Olympic-style Taekwondo in its slower, more fluid moves. The sparring is generally non-contact and has been described as similar to the Taekwondo in its earliest days.
태권도는 스포츠가 아니고 마셜 아트라게 마셜 아트라는 것은 체력에 관계없고
Taekwondo is not sports. It's martial art. What is martial art? It's mental and technical skills. Martial arts should be for cultivating the mind. In sports, somebody beats someone else. But in martial arts, you are only competing with yourself.
All martial art and art tend to stay along the narrow trees, just among themselves, transcending their techniques and arts. But that is not international. But sports are international and worldwide and universal for everybody. If you want to succeed, it has to be worldwide, universal, and international.
Dr. Kim Un-yong heads the powerful WTF today and is widely credited with the internationalization of the sport. He pressed ahead developing rules, sparring techniques, and holding international competitions. Taekwondo, he wanted to believe, would succeed on the world stage in a way no other martial art had before.
First, to make it a Korean national sport for everybody to love and practice Taekwondo. To do that, you have to develop rules, many things to become national, and then make it international sport.
In 1988, Kim witnessed the culmination of a lifetime's work. Taekwondo debuted as a demonstration sport at the spectacular opening ceremony of the Olympics held in Seoul. In 1994, the International Olympic Committee announced that Taekwondo would become an official Olympic sport at the Sydney Olympics in the year 2000. For the Koreans, the admission of Taekwondo to the Olympics was not just about sports. It was a testimony to the stamina, endurance, and pride of the Korean nation. The Korean national team starts its day at dawn and often doesn't finish until way after dusk. The competition just to get on this team is fierce, with only 12 athletes chosen from all over Korea to represent the nation that founded their sport. Here at the Taenang Olympic Training Center, the team works single-mindedly towards their ultra-competitive quest for the Olympic gold. Kim Jae-kyung is the world Taekwondo heavyweight champion and captain of the Korean national team. He leads the country's and possibly the world's best Taekwondo athletes. At age 30, Kim is old for the game, but the three-time world champion doesn't seem to be slowing down.
I see everything in connection with Taekwondo competition. For example, I think of Taekwondo kicking when I'm walking down the street. It's like a baseball player always has a ball in his hand, or a basketball player always dribbling the ball.
There are no pumse here. They're considered an unaffordable luxury in a world where only sparring counts. Winning is everything. The pressure is intense. The athletes' lives are devoted to their sport, often at the expense of friends and family. These days, serious challenges from teams like Taiwan, China, Spain, and Russia are turning up the heat.
지는 선수들만 몇 명 안 지지만 그 지는 선수들이 매일 지고 있는.
Everyone thinks that Koreans have to win every single game. But now that Taekwondo is being taught all over the world, foreign players have caught up and are now as good as Korean players.
많이 향상이 돼가지고.
In fact, they can probably even win over Koreans because they are bigger and stronger.
외국 선수들이 체격이 좋기 때문에.
As a result, weight training has been added to aerobic conditioning and Taekwondo skills practice, mainly because foreign competitors do it as well. The 2-hour session includes a grueling circuit of about a dozen stations. 105 kilograms not enough for you? No problem. The team trainer is willing to help out. Meal times are especially important for athletes like these, who can burn up to 4,000 calories a day. But they still have to watch what they eat. 1 or 2 days without exercise can find them 2 or 3 kilos heavier, a real fear for athletes who must stay within their weight division. After lunch, it's break time. Cho Hyang-mi, the women's team captain, usually tries to relax by drawing or reading. She says in the ring, she gains her composure and her competitive edge by yelling very loudly.
Let me tell you a funny story. It was when I played against a Russian competitor. When I yelled loudly, she yelled back louder. Some of the spectators started to laugh. I didn't want to be overwhelmed, so I yelled louder. And then she yelled back even louder. All eyes in the gym were on us. By then, everyone was laughing. Yelling makes me confident.
The 2-time world welterweight champion has been on the national team for 7 years. She's had to fight traditional stereotypes ever since she began Taekwondo, and her parents wouldn't buy her a uniform because they thought girls shouldn't be doing such a sport. Now her boyfriend must wait to win her hand in marriage. This is the Taekwondo the world will see at the Olympics, a dynamic, full-contact sport made up of 3 sparring rounds of 3 minutes each. Professor Yang Jinbang teaches Taekwondo theory at the Yongin University and describes sparring as a series of reciprocal moves.
You can understand the Taekwondo competitions based on the exchange of attacking and counter-attacking.
Each move has a limited set of possible consequences. For every attack, there is a counter-attack, launched through what Yang describes as the empty space between the players.
While he's kicking this one, the other side of space is completely empty, which I can make my own movement through. So, which will be kicking here, I can go this side.
Timing is key.
He moved before he finished, before he recover his fully balanced to make the second movement. I have to deliver my counterattack. That's the timing-wise principle of this counterattack movement.
일단 그 스파링 부분이
People tend to think sparring is the most important part of Taekwondo, and that the reason for practicing is to win the gold medal. As a result, I think the spiritual aspect of Taekwondo, such as Pumse, is fading away.
On a normal day, Lee Sik is an assistant coach for the sparring team at Yongin University. But he also comes here to the Haedong Dojang to maintain his more traditional skills and to enforce the required etiquette, which he thinks is the key to Taekwondo.
스모킹? 너무 줄여? 오케이. 원몸스. 피니시. 스모킹. 오케이?
The students meditate to ancient Buddhist readings, and Pumse are one of the main features.
The members of the national team visit this place from time to time. They're very good at competition, but know nothing about Pumse. I give them an opportunity to teach children here, but they can't because they don't know anything about Pumse. So I think coaches must not neglect Pumse in the training process.
Unlike other Asian martial arts, where religion played a key role in the development of the art, the philosophy of Taekwondo has its roots in the very essence of Korean character. Soul. Amidst the neon lights and traffic jams of this ultra-modern city, there are still the last remaining vestiges of the most influential philosophy to hit the Korean peninsula, Confucianism. Once a year, at the Cheongmyo Palace in Seoul, descendants of the last imperial family honor their ancestors in the most Confucian of ancient rites. Imported from China in the 14th century, Korea has embraced the rigid hierarchical philosophy of Confucianism for centuries. Even today, traditional Confucian values make up the very essence of Korean social patterns. Courtesy, filial piety, loyalty, patriotism, righteousness and discipline. Probably no place better exemplifies Taekwondo's Confucian ethics than the famed Midong Elementary School. As the students enter for their 4-hour training session, they bow respectfully, 30 degrees from the waist, to their master. After an oath to the flag, it's time for a lesson. Without etiquette, the whole world becomes lawless, he tells them. Meditation is used to focus the mind. And the children are taught the path to being true martial artists through tasks like cleaning the gym.
First of all, as a martial artist, we must train our body and soul. Secondly, regardless of age, we must respect everyone and become one with one mind, one thought. Thirdly, there are rules here. Don't fight. Don't hold a grudge. Don't bother others. Don't fool around in the gym. And be sure to salute to the flag and bow to a senior.
For the students, the rigor and obedience pays off. Midong is famous for its highly competitive program, and the team regularly travels overseas to perform at prestigious demonstration events around the world. The techniques learned here are pure martial art. Kids as young as 9 perform perfect Pumse and other trademark Taekwondo demonstration skills like breaking boards and self-defense. The team runs on a Confucian-style hierarchy, with Master Lee at the top and the team captain next in line. The two of them are responsible for the team's welfare. Kim Jae-han not only leads them in practice, but also makes administrative decisions.
At first I thought it would be fun to be the captain, but now I have to work harder than my friends.
Kim Jae-han's parents are very proud of him. Their son is a well-rounded student who earns straight A's and also heads the student council. Traditional Korean values still hold sway here, where 3 generations live under the same roof, and the mother takes care of the family. Taekwondo fits into the Kim's beliefs about what is important in raising children.
We want our children to be cooperative in society. The independent spirit is also important, but we think cooperation with others is more important.
Such values may serve Jehan in society, but they are a far cry from the ultra-competitive spirit of Olympic Taekwondo. And the ever-widening gap between these two is creating a crisis in the future direction for Taekwondo today. At the Olympic Park in Seoul, more than 2,500 Taekwondo athletes and their families make the pilgrimage to this three-day event. Hanmadang is the Korean Taekwondo Association's answer to fears about the loss of the martial art. Established in 1992, this annual festival features all the non-sparring aspects of Taekwondo and kicks off with an opening performance by the national demonstration team. Seemingly helpless women show off their self-defense skills. While their more mature counterparts show it's never too late to get in on the act. Gnarled-knuckled athletes punch through as many as 16 ceramic tiles, while others take a running 3-meter leap and try to kick through a pine board plank, some more successfully than others. Some Taekwondo masters also pride themselves on their power of concentration and the accuracy of attack. The effect of wind created by a Taekwondo motion, breaking the cigarette off only 5 centimeters away from his student's mouth. Back at Hanmadang, the competition is heating up. Over and over again, children perform their pumse with exuberance, passion, and precision. Here is where you will see some of the more radical departures from the old-time martial art, suggesting new directions in the future of Taekwondo. The greatest threat to traditional Taekwondo is the biggest craze today, Taekwondo aerobics. Martial arts moves choreographed with dance steps to the latest pop songs. It's fun, easy to learn, and booming in popularity, with more than 75 teams now competing at Hanmadang. In fact, clubs throughout Korea are now packing in kids who want to Taekwondo to the beat. Master Kim Kyung-chan says he chooses music that is cheerful and rhythmic. He also tries to incorporate elements of Korean traditional dance into the routines. To him, aerobics is the sure way to grab kids and keep the art alive.
Some older Taekwondo masters argue that Taekwondo aerobics hurts the Taekwondo spirit. But personally speaking, Taekwondo should adapt to the environment we live in today, while maintaining the original spirit. In this way, Taekwondo appeals to today's society and is easy for trainees to learn.
Encouraging and training a new generation is just part of the bigger question leaders are asking about the evolution of Taekwondo. For as much as tradition is part of this martial art, change is too. Indeed, it is the constant pull of these two opposing forces, the art and the sport, that has made Taekwondo so dynamic and unique. As Taekwondo faces its future, the challenge will be bringing this most Korean of martial arts into the 21st century, without losing its traditional grounding or the spiritual essence that has unified it from the start.
What on earth are shark teeth doing 200 miles inland in the Tunisian desert? Join the raptor hunters to find out tomorrow at 11. Next tonight, enter the weird and wonderful world of the ocean drifters after the break.